Welcome to Bellwether Wealth's webinar series, Navigate Exit Planning with Confidence. In Season 1, Drive Your Business Like You're Going to Sell It, we're joined by John Fullwider, a business value growth advisor at Gear 80. For today's episode, we will discuss how to increase revenue predictably and sustainably.
So business owners, they can't get out of day-to-day management of their businesses, and 80% of them can't sell their companies. This free 14-part webinar series you're in today shows you how you can free yourself from day-to-day management and double the value of your business. And that way you can successfully sell it when you want, to whom you want, at the price you want, or decide to keep it as a highly profitable asset. All you have to do is drive your business like you're going to sell it. That involves focusing your work on the three dimensions of business growth. One, creating predictable profit and cash flow growth. We covered that in part one of the series. Two, creating predictable, sustainable revenue growth. We're covering that today. And three, creating predictable, transferable value. Or in other words, making your business sellable by making it valuable to a purchaser. Now, there's a fun side effect of these three growth dimensions, and that is that when you focus on them, your business gets easier and more fun to run. There are 4 parts to this webinar series, as we indicated, and today we're talking about part 2, creating predictable and sustainable revenue growth. We covered the launch pad for growth in part 1. That's predictable profit and cash flow. And in part 3, we'll focus on making your business sellable by increasing its value. And then in part 4, we're going to cover all your options for exiting your business, whether that's selling it or exiting day-to-day management and doing something else with your 9 to 5. This series revolves around a free assessment that gives you a rough estimate of what your business could sell for today. You'll also learn how much more you could sell it for after you increase its profit, revenue, and value. This could be as much as double what you could sell your business for today. Now, you've got to know where you are to plot a course to where you want to be. So please take the assessment. The link is there on the screen, and we're also posting it in the chat. We have a series introduction video that talks about my experience helping business owners and shows you how to use the business value assessment 2 ways. One, as a preparation checklist for the due diligence process you'll go through when you sell your business. And 2, it's a growth playbook that lets you PE yourself. That is, grow your business dramatically like a private equity firm would, while preserving your non-financial values like loyalty to your employees and to your community. You can watch the series introduction and all the past episodes in this series at the link on the screen. We're also posting it in the chat. So today we're going to cover 3 ways to grow your revenue predictably and sustainably. 1, through industry-leading strategic vision, planning, and execution. 2, through an industry-leading strategic culture. And 3, through an industry-leading hiring and training process. The first objective on the way to growing revenue predictably and sustainably is industry-leading strategic vision, planning, and execution. More specifically, you document, are transparent about, and communicate your business's vision and mission, strategy and culture, both internally and externally, and you have the capacity to execute on all of that. Here's a key result that shows you're on the way to achieving your strategic vision, planning, and execution objective. The business uses a written strategy to execute its mission and meet shareholder profit, revenue, and value growth goals. For your written strategy, I'm not talking about a 300-page strategic plan that will just collect dust on the shelf. Everything you need can fit on about 10 to 12 pages. And the starting point is a 1-page strategic plan. All 3 of these books will teach you how to make one. Traction, Pinnacle, Scaling Up. We're putting links to the 3 books in the chat. A one-page strategic plan is a great starting point, but it doesn't fully solve one of the biggest problems I've seen working with more than 40 business owners. Here's the problem. Business owners have been thinking about their vision for the company 24/7, 365 for years. Dozens of conferences, hundreds of books, thousands of conversations, tens of thousands of words in who knows how many notebooks. It's difficult to get just one team member fully briefed on all that material. Harder still to do that for 5 people or 20 or 100. Good news, there's a book that gives you a structured process for getting your vision out of your head and into the heads of the people who want to execute it. That book is Vivid Vision by Cameron Herold. He writes, apart from you, no one in your organization knows with any certainty what it is you intend to make of the company you lead. And if they can't build it, they can't see it. I said that wrong. And they can't build it if they can't see it. You got the point. It's your task to provide them with the means of seeing it. He goes on to write, when creating the vivid vision, don't worry about how it's going to happen, only that it's going to happen. It's the CEO's job, that's you, business owner, to figure out where the organization is going. It's the role of the leadership team to figure out how they will make the vivid vision happen. We're putting a link to this book in the chat as well. Here's another key result that shows you're on the way to achieving your strategic vision, planning, and execution objective. You actively and continuously use an execution system to deploy your strategy. Why bother with an execution system, you might ask? Well, according to noted smart guy Thomas Edison, vision without execution is hallucination. Good news, the books I mentioned earlier for creating one-page strategic plans, Traction, Pinnacle, and Scaling Up, are also execution systems. So what's an execution system? It's the way a company organizes human energy. It's how you meet, solve problems, plan, prioritize, follow processes, and align on strategy. It's how you communicate, measure results, structure accountability, clarify roles, and lead and manage your people. All the basic blocking and tackling of business has already been figured out and written down. Pick an execution system and go. An execution system will help increase the value of your business and make it sellable. Take it from my friend Steve Prada in his book, Buyable. He calls execution systems management blueprints. Same thing. Other people call them business operating systems. Again, same thing. Execution system, management blueprint, business operating system, all different words for the same thing. Anyway, Steve writes, running your business on a management blueprint allows you to keep breaking through ceilings until you've built the business to your target value and beyond. Operating using a management blueprint telegraphs to investors that you have a viable business. In other words, it's showing a potential purchaser that your business is valuable and that value is transferable to them. Let's return to that key result we reviewed earlier. The business uses a written strategy to execute its mission, and here's the important part, and meet shareholder profit, revenue, and value growth goals. Throughout this webinar series, I've been encouraging you to think of yourself as an owner investor, not an owner operator, somebody who owns a business, not somebody who has a job in a business. So, what could your revenue growth goals be as a shareholder? Last week, I encouraged you to avoid looking inward at what your company is doing and instead look outward at what best-in-class companies are doing. One way to find best-in-class companies is to look at the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing American businesses. In this year's list, the median growth was 208% over 3 years. That means half the companies on the list were above that number and half were below it. My current and past clients have been above and below that number. Data Vision, 83% growth. Barry Law Firm, 99% growth. Bulu Group, 102% growth. Summit Lawns, 165%. CFO Systems, 211%. Summit Contracting, 236%. And Company Cam, 246%. All these companies set specific growth goals and used an execution system to achieve them. The takeaway point here, crazy revenue growth is possible when you're sane with your planning and execution. There's no way that you're going to get crazy revenue growth, however, without a crazy culture. I'm talking about a culture so powerful, so distinctive, that it looks crazy to people who aren't a good fit for it. And it feels insanely great to work here for people who are a fit. That's why the second objective on the way to growing revenue predictably and sustainably is an industry-leading strategic culture. More specifically, your business culture helps deliver your vision, mission, and strategy. Here's a key result that shows you're on the way to achieving your strategic culture objective. The business has written guiding principles that support execution of the vision, mission, and strategy. By written guiding principles, I mean core values. These are not just some feel-good words on a page. Core values are powerful tools with which you hire, fire, review, reward, and recognize your people. When you do that long enough, it creates a culture that attracts the right people and repels the wrong people. And that then makes our next objective, people, hiring, and training, easier. What we're looking for here is an industry-leading process for hiring and training your people. More specifically, you have a documented and effective process to hire, onboard, and train people that has a proven record of creating productive and loyal contributors to the business's success. With strong core values creating a strong culture, you get more and better hiring referrals from your employees. That's because people with strong core values tend to know other people with the same strong values. And you make the interviewing part of the hiring process more powerful because you make it shockingly clear the kind of behaviors that are a fit at this company and the kind of behaviors that are not a fit at this company. You can use a tool called a core values speech that shocks someone into self-selecting out of a job here because they know they'll never fit at your company. I've got a 2-page instruction sheet on the core values speech, and we're dropping that link in the chat. So back to the key result we reviewed earlier. The business has written guiding principles that support execution of the vision, mission, and strategy. Core values are the very foundation of actually executing your strategy for achieving predictable profit and cash flow growth, predictable, sustainable revenue growth, and creating a valuable company that someone would want to buy. Here's an example of absolute core values mastery. As you listen to Summit Lawns' core values, notice how easy it is to visualize the values a person would have to be a good fit at Summit. And notice how they're about how we do our work here at Summit Lawns. In other words, notice how they support execution of the vision, mission, and strategy. No crew left behind. We're helpful to each other, even if it's not our job. Someone else is having a hard time and needs an extra hand to finish out the day? No problem. We got you, homie. We're open to take on new tasks and work together as a team to knock out anything, even if it's not part of your regular job. Own it. Mess up on the job? That's okay. We all make mistakes. Take ownership in the mistake, acknowledge it happened, and participate in fixing the problem. Take ownership of our equipment by respecting it and taking care of it. Embrace the suck. Let's face it, we're not always working in an air-conditioned office. The fact is, we work outside in rain, snow, and sunshine. We chose this job, so let's have some fun with it. Splash in a puddle, throw a snowball, slap a smile on your face, and let's finish the job together with a positive attitude, even when equipment breaks. Enjoy the ride. By the way, don't you just love the founder and CEO, Ted's creativity there? Enjoy the ride, riding lawnmowers, snow throwing equipment. Next up, don't be a dick. This pretty much means what it says. We're all about treating each other and our customers with respect, being responsible, and having a sense of humor. And then here's the last one. No lawn is as good as a summit lawn. In everything you do, do it to the best of your ability. Work with excellence and pride, and show the world that no one else does it as well as we do. And that's it for today. Our series continues next week with part 2 of how to grow revenue predictably and sustainably. After that, we'll start part 3 of our webinar series, how to make your business sellable by increasing its value. With that, it's time for Q&A. Remember to type your questions in the Q&A section of your Zoom window, and Kim will read each question aloud, and I will then answer them. All right. What questions do you have?
Okay, John. It says, I don't have any core values. How do I get started?
Yeah, great question. There's no way you could lose, starting with Patrick Lencioni's book called The Ideal Team Player. And he describes the ideal team player as humble, hungry, and smart. So I actually have a couple of slides I can pull up on this topic, but what I want you to do is before you go through the exercise of creating core values, before you believe what I told you about how powerful core values are, I want you to just prove it to yourself and use humble, hungry, and smart with the definitions I'm about to show you. And just like scan your present team. Are they humble? Are they hungry? Are they smart? I think what you'll find is that some of them are exceptions, right? And that will show you that you can use descriptions of behavioral expectations to kind of design the type of team that you want to have. So let me show you those humble, hungry, smart slides here. Just a quick second. Okay, so first off, humble team members are quick to point out the contributions of others and slow to seek attention for their own. They share credit, emphasize team over self, and define success collectively rather than individually. All right, so scan at least your leadership team and your managers. Are they humble, as we've defined here? Next up, hungry. Hungry team members are self-motivated and diligent. They're constantly thinking about the next step and the next opportunity. Once again, scan the people on your team in your mind. Are they hungry? And then finally, smart team members are interpersonally aware and appropriate. They have good judgment and intuition around the subtleties of group dynamics and the impact of their words and actions. One last time, scan your mental accountability chart. Are your team members smart? So that's how you would get started with core values is proving to yourself the power that they have to help you select right fits for your team. And then the next thing that you would do is simply Google Mission to Mars exercise. It's a Jim Collins exercise that helps you discover your core values. The thing is that the core values are pretty easy to determine. They're already inside you. They're in your core. You just have to draw them out of yourself and describe them in a way that other people can understand. Ultimately, what we're aiming for is a list of 3 to 4, at most 5 core values that describe behaviors so clearly that I could send a third grader with a clipboard to your office and she would be able to observe or not people displaying the core values behaviors. So that's how you would get started with them. Great question. What else do we have, Kim?
Um, so this person said, same. We don't have that written down. I'm assuming the core values. He then goes on to ask, are you an EOS consultant?
I used to be. So I was a trained EOS implementer, trained by Gino and his team. And I did EOS professionally for 3 years before I switched for the last three to the Pinnacle business operating system. Maybe you could ask a follow-up question about why you're wondering about EOS.
Well, so there's another question here. It says, you've listed a lot of these books. Can you give us some specific answers?
Yeah, yeah. So the thing about business growth, right, is let me change the slide here. There's learning and there's implementing. The thing that I've said a number of times in these webinars is the basic blocking and tackling of business has already been figured out, right? All these books, such as Vivid Vision, on how to get 100% of your vision out of your head and into the heads of people who want to execute it. I mean, the recipe book is there. All you got to do is follow the recipe. And there's a big implementation gap. Business owners don't always take their knowledge and use it to their advantage. And that's why, frankly, there are value growth advisors and business coaches like me. You know, if you're trying to climb to new heights in your business, right? You could you could just try making it up as you go along. And that would be like trying to climb with a ladder, right? You could use business books, such as the ones I've outlined, to accelerate your learning and follow best practices. And that would be like taking the stairs. And you can hire a co-pilot who has read all the books and can adapt them exactly to your context, right where you are right now and where you need to grow, and match you with the right and best tools. And that would be like taking the elevator to where you want to go. It's your choice as far as how far you want to go and how quickly. Did our earlier EOS questioner ask the follow-up question, Kim, or do we have another question?
He did.
Okay.
So he's actually asking, he says, what do you charge? We're looking at this for our company. And then he goes on to say, do you have a next level of this series with group consulting in an expanded format?
Whoa, man. Okay. So that was a lot. How much do I charge? So I charge a monthly retainer for working with the CEO, that's the business owner, and their right-hand person, if any. So I no longer work with the senior leadership team. I just work with the owner and their right-hand person using a process that I call drive. So I'll describe the process and see if it appeals to you. I've got a slide on that here. Hang on just a second while I find it. Okay, there it is. So this is the first time in a webinar series. Thank you, question asker. The first time I've had an opportunity to describe what I mean by drive your business to like you're going to sell it. So step one is decide what you want from your business. Here's the thing, in processes like EOS, strategic planning and rock setting tends to get delegated to the leadership team. And leadership teams left to their own devices tend to prioritize projects that do not move the needle on things that matter to you as an owner and as a shareholder, that being profit and cash flow growth, revenue growth, and value growth. So we flip that script with the drive process, and we start with asking you if you're down with OPP. That is owner prioritized planning. So in OPP, or owner prioritized planning, we're deciding what you want from your business. We're then using this OKR system that I've been showing you and the business value assessment. There's a lot more to the system to rate the dollar value of 24 growth projects. So I've been showing you the objectives in the webinar series. Those are the 24 growth projects. And we actually have the ability to estimate how finishing one of the projects, how much it would increase the value of your business by. And it can be 600,000, it can be 400,000, it can be 250,000. And we decide among them. You might say, oh, well, I want to do the $600,000 project first. Well, no, not necessarily, because they also need to be rated on the time and the difficulty. In your particular company, some growth projects will take longer, some will be faster. In your particular company, some will be more difficult, some will be easier. We then take your plan on the road, implementing your plan with weekly help overcoming speed bumps and roadblocks. And I can tell you, 86% of the time, the speed bumps and roadblocks are going to be the people on your team. And so I've got 15 years of experience coaching owners and visionaries, like how to get past roadblocks, speed bumps, bridges out, traffic jams, and so forth. So give you that support in implementation. Then at the end of whatever sprint period we're in, whether it's a monthly or quarterly sprint, we're verifying that the planned return on investment happened and will stick. And then step E happens throughout the process. You enjoy a business that's easier to run and growing in value. To answer briefly the second part of your question, will there be an expanded or advanced version of this webinar series? Maybe. Fill out our survey or email us to let us know what you'd like to see in that advanced series. That would be wonderful feedback. Remember that when you exit the webinar, your web browser is going to bring up the survey form. So just fill that out. Or you can email me with your ideas for that advanced series. I'm at john@gear80.co. So that's JOHN at GEAR80.co, not .com. And with that, great questions, team. We're at our 9 o'clock mark. So let me change the slide here and just wrap us up. So just a reminder, as we say every week, you can free yourself from day-to-day management and double the value of your business if you'll focus your work on the 3 dimensions of business growth: predictable profit and cash flow, predictable sustainable revenue growth, and making your business sellable by making it valuable. When you do all those things, you can successfully sell your business when you want, to whom you want, at the price you want, or decide to keep it as a highly profitable asset. All you have to do is drive your business like you're going to sell it. I'm John Fullwider, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next time for part 2 of how to grow revenue predictably and sustainably. Have a great rest of your week. Be well.